Hi guys, we've got a UFS video this week because it's the first one done in a while, and it's all about this beautiful card, Trinity Geyser. Now Trinity Geyser is a very hot topic when it comes to UFS. It's quite controversial. Like, a lot of people think it's broken, a lot of people think it's crap, a lot of people sort of don't really know whether to play it or not, and I think it's a very good card. However, I do think that you need to be able to play it in a deck that's built around it. I don't think you can just throw it into anything. Now there's a lot of ways you can play Geyser, there's a lot of ways you can play against Geyser, and there's ways not to play it. Now the ways not to play it are the ways I've seen it being played as far as I'm concerned. If you disagree with me, feel free to leave a comment and just tell me I'm an idiot, because it's what I'm here for. But Geyser as a whole is a 6 difficulty, 2 control attack with a combo requirement of attack, foundation, foundation. Now, generally speaking, if that combo enhance goes off, you have probably won the game. It's very difficult to come back from it, but there are a lot of ways of stopping it, and it's not the most reliable attack in the game, given that, you know, literally speaking, with 3 cards in your card pool already, it's a 9 difficulty card, and that's not the easiest thing to boost up. So then, in my opinion, there are 3 keys to playing a Geyser deck. To play the Geyser itself, you need to try and keep the difficulty of the card down so you don't end up spending too much of your resources in your staging area tapping out to play the Geyser. There's lots of ways you could do this. Mega Ball is a very good attack that reduces the difficulty of the next ranged attack you play, and Geyser has the decency to be a ranged attack. You have foundations that don't add progressive difficulty while they're in your card pool, which lessens the difficulty quite significantly. And there are characters that can boost the checks. There's lots of other ways that you can do it, but I shall touch on that properly in a little while. You want to not lose too much in card advantage by playing Geyser, because if that enhance doesn't go off, you are left having played 4 cards, and in a 6-hand character, that will leave you only with 2 for your opponent's turn to block with, which generally, if you end up messing up with a Geyser turn, you might end up dying the next turn, so that's something you want to not happen. You also want to try and make the Geyser itself a threat without relying on its combo ability. You know, a 4 speed, 8 damage attack with stun 2 is quite threatening anyway. Now, what you really want to do is you want to have characters that have consistent damage bonuses so that you can make sure that the attack is a threat and needs to be blocked. So that if you have got the combo enhance off, you probably won. If you haven't, then it needs to start diminishing their resources. Now, you do have to build around Geyser. There's a lot of cards that are built towards Geyser, and it's mostly within Terry's support, who the attack belongs to. You have Champion of Southtown, you have one-man wolf pack. There's other cards that do something similar as well. I mean, up until recently we had Mourning the Lost, but we've made a Summer Heat promo, which in my opinion is actually better than Mourning the Lost because it's got the bit that I care about on it and a nice little extra on it. The damage bonus on Mourning the Lost was never my bag. But I'm aware it was very powerful though. So you're just drawing extra cards. So while you're not keeping the difficulty down so much, you are, however, mitigating the loss in resources by playing those cards. Now, there are 3 types of deck that I consider a Geyser deck, and I will show you the characters that are played in there. You have the quick Geyser deck, which is gimmicky because it relies on just throwing out a Geyser as quickly as possible, but at the same time, you will just get games snatched away from you without realising it. Good characters that come under this kind of Geyser deck are Leona, just by simply being 8 hand size. Ringman, who makes the difficulty of the Geyser you're playing a lot smaller and the damage of it bigger. And boosting its speed by 1 actually does make it quite a significant threat, because when an attack speed is 5, there are very few people play 6 checks these days. So even on a mid-1 block, they're going to have to tap something to get to block your attack. So 5, to me, is something you can't hard check. You cannot just block it, and it's very difficult to do if your staging area is tapped down, which a lot of characters should be able to do. It's quite a big strategy in UFS right now. And then you have Mature, who, similarly to Ringman, buffs the checks of her Geyser and makes them easier to play. And, you know, if she's been hurt, she makes them significantly more powerful as well. Reliable Geyser decks, which are slower, and, you know, they may not see the Geyser on the turn that they necessarily need it, which is the weakness of the deck. However, they won't even try to play it unless they are 99% sure they can kill you with it. And more often than not, when they're going to try and kill you with it, they're going to kill you with it. The characters that work very well with this are Donovan, who is my bae. Everyone knows I like my Donovan. He has the benefit of having both a consistent damage bonus to make the attack a bigger threat, and having the ability to lock down foundations that can answer it, such as Kokuken Training, Caught Red-Handed, those kinds of things that can lock out the combo enhance. You have Sasquatch, who's similar to Donovan in many ways, however he's technically better, however there are more outs to his response, and if he's doing it every turn he diminishes his resources, whereas Donovan doesn't. Now, so they're two sides of the same coin. They both have very similar effects, but they work in very different ways. And then the third character I actually think is arguably better than the other two at this is Dimitri, who is in the Warriors of the Night set that's due out in a week or two. So, he has a much better late game than the other two. The other two are still going to try and play their geysers fairly early if they can, because they can lock down your abilities to cancel out the combo quite quickly, and if they get more than 2 answers, they then have to start playing other cards to answer those. Now, Dimitri will flip one of your opponent's foundations every turn, which means that he's slower than the other two, but if you leave him too long, then he will end up just blanking your staging area and then smacking you over the head with a Dirty Great Geyser. And his support cards actually give benefits to your other cards while they're in your card pool, and he actually does all of the, he keeps the difficulty down, and he doesn't lose too much in card advantage either, because his first ability is to add any card from his discard pile to his card pool and have it not count to progressive difficulty, which means you actually only need 3 cards for your full combo for Geyser rather than the normal 4. So that's quite a significant buff. The third type of Geyser deck is what I like to call the Repeater Geyser, which will set up as fast as it possibly can. They actually don't care if the Geyser actually hits you or not. All they care about is getting those foundations out as quickly as they possibly can. And they will use the Geyser as another draw power card. Because the whole point of what I would call a Repeater Geyser deck is just to draw. It is deep draw. It's all you care about. You just want as many cards as you possibly can. Their weakness, however, is that they've probably spent more resources in their deck build to building around Geyser than the other two would have done. The other two can get away with playing less resources, particularly Dimitri, than the other two. Whereas the characters that I think are very good for Repeater Geyser, and the reason I call it Repeater Geyser is a small combo that I found with a character that I've been experimenting with that's actually pretty solid. Elizabeth would be the first one, simply because she can just grab it back whenever she wants out of her graveyard. You have Anakaris, who is the character that I've been experimenting with, and Terry, who is the character the attack is meant for. The reason that Anakaris and Terry work so well is you have a small combo that you can run in the form of running Hurricane Upper, which if you're playing Underrule you should really be running anyway, because it's really, really good, and Earth if you're playing Terry. You then have Merciless Master, which is a Ringman Foundation, which has the simple enhance, once per turn, add a momentum to the top of your deck. So what you would do, because Anakaris and Terry both have abilities that draw cards, so you would go Hurricane Upper, reduce its multiple to 0, let's put the Trinity Geyser into your momentum. So as long as there's a Trinity Geyser in your discard pile, you can grab it back whenever you want. You then use Merciless Master to put the Trinity Geyser on top of your deck, and then you use either Anakaris or Terry's draw ability to add it to your hand. So therefore you have just used a Hurricane Upper to fish out a Trinity Geyser from your graveyard as if it was nothing. Now, the loss of When the Moon Comes Over the Mountain, which was an extremely powerful action card, has made all of the Geyser decks a little bit weaker, because the consistency of getting Geyser as and when you want it has diminished. However, those 3 characters, the Repeater Geyser decks, are characters that don't actually need When the Moon Comes Over the Mountain. They can grab it back whenever they want. But, I mean, going over playing against a Geyser deck, you have plenty of cards that can do it. Now, Negation is a big deal, so if you want to stop that combo enhance, which will probably win them the game, then you have Caught Red-Handed, Revoke, Kokuken Training, Scorned Beauty, which is a very underplayed card, by the way. There's plenty of cards that you can use to negate the Geysers full out. Difficulty increases because it goes against the Geysers what they're trying to do. So Final Betrayal is a very good card. And given that they have to play an attack before they play Geyser, that will give you an opportunity to block with a Final Betrayal or a large breaker block. and make the turn that much harder for them, because they're playing on +1 difficulties to all of their cards. Even if they do get the Geyser enhance off after that, they've probably tapped a lot of their cards to do it, and then they're having to play all of the cards that follow it on +1 difficulty, which is a bigger deal than you might think. And then you also have speed reduction, and you also want to try and reduce the speed of these attacks, just so that if you're playing against a lot of these characters, you probably know that Geyser is their end game, so you want to be able to block those, and then you want to be able to block whatever comes after it. So High School Crush, anything that reduces speed, is also a very, very good kind of way to get around it. If you're playing the Geyser deck, now you play to your deck strengths, is the best way to explain it. So if you're playing a quick Geyser, you play as quickly as you can. If you're playing a reliable Geyser, you wait until all of your opponent's answers are eliminated, then you can play as many stun attacks as you can as the precursor to Geyser, and speed boost the Geyser itself. Repeater Geysers should just concentrate on getting those cards down, because the more cards they have out, they can continue to play cards after the Geyser has finished. Even if it has been negated, they can just sit there and go, okay, I don't care, I'm just still going to hit you over the head. So yes, I mean, I've been experimenting with Anacharis to a relative amount of success. I mean, if I were to be asked which I thought the best character for Geyser was, I would be fairly biased and still say it was between Donovan and Dimitri. Now, Dimitri, I just think, is a exceptional character that no one seems to be tapping into recently, and they're looking at it and they're looking at all the other characters in the Darkstalkers set and ignoring him, which confuses me greatly because he seems like possibly the best character in the set. But anyways, obviously I shall leave you guys to play with your Trinity Geysers, for those who've managed to get it, because it's not the easiest card in the world to get. But I figured that it was worth making the video just so that people knew how to A, play it, and B, play against it, because it is something that people are going to have to bear in mind. So if you like the video and you like UFS, or if you wanted to see anything else on the card related front, then drop us a like and a subscribe, and share the video to anyone that you know is interested in playing UFS or has already started and wants to know more. And then hopefully I will keep you up to date with any of the decks and sort of strategies that I can find, and I'll keep you guys up to date. So I'll see you guys later. A 5 pick for Mega Man set. There's no way in hell anyone's ever going to make these cards legal for you, and because there's information missing. I mean, it's up to your head judge anyway.